things are only impossible until you do them. And
Yes, Black Swan.
and that's been the mantra that I've had in my whole career. There are ways to do things, and it may not articulate itself articulate itself the way that we first imagine. But if you know that there's a problem, there's always some solution to it. It might be inartful to begin with, but there is a solution to be had there. Um,
Hmm.
as you said, it's not easy and it's not for the faint of heart. But if you can pull it off, you have a much better chance of succeeding.
All right, welcome back to Exploring Growth. Today, I'm interviewing Fred Cary. He's a serial entrepreneur, angel investor, and CEO of IdeaPros, where they help entrepreneurs build, grow, and fund their ideas. Fred, welcome to Exploring Growth.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I hope we're going to have a good time and give your audience a lot to think about.
Yeah. So to kick us off, tell us about you. Like, tell us about how'd you come up, and what are you involved in right now?
Yeah, I became an entrepreneur right at the ripe old age of 20. Uh, People have asked me what was my motivation to go down this path, and the reality was I didn't think anybody would have me.
Yeah.
So, and so, I didn't fit the cookie cutter cloth that I thought I would be put into, and so I started doing things on my own. Uh, and I have been running my own companies, starting my own companies from the ground up for about 30 years, and now I help other folks, whether they're at the very beginning stage of what they want to do, whether they're more middle market company that wants to grow to another level.
Hmm.
I sit down with them and strategically kind of reevaluate what they're doing and reinvent them and get them onto another level. So it's rewarding, and it's also the ass in this show. It's a pain in the ass if I can't. It's a pain in the butt if I can't.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's it. I get it. I'm in that ecosystem of founders and entrepreneurs, and even the entrepreneurs. And it's a racket. I mean, you got ideas that are just swirling, and everyone thinks they're worth $1 billion or more. And I know you've got Idea Pros as your company
Yeah.
currently. Tell us like more specifically about what you're doing and maybe some of the type of companies you work with.
Yeah. What I'm doing now, as of recently, is a little bit different than what we started. The flagship product that we had was basically after discovering that 95% of entrepreneurs are what we call outsiders. Um, they don't really have access to capital, connections. They probably don't know what they should be building. Typically, they've come from corporate America, can't
Okay.
stand jobs anymore, and want to go out on their own. There is no real infrastructure to support them. So I started Idea Pros as being kind of the ultimate co-founder for somebody coming out, a babe in the woods, coming out and not knowing what they wanted to do. The problem with that is the demand was overwhelming. I had over 100,000, not over, I had about 100,000 applications to work with me.
Hmm.
It could only take 400 deals. So we have 400 companies that we're part owners of, trying to massage them and grow them.
Hmm.
And over the last several months, I kind of migrated what we do to a lot of automated components so that we
Yeah.
can help anybody anywhere on the journey with what they want. If it's a more mature company, help them get their next round of funding, help them strategize the next level of growth and higher margins. If it's a small company that's just getting ready to launch, we can put them in front of venture capital and
Hmm.
even before that. But right now, it's all compartmentalized pieces.
Give me so, and I did see that. I'm actually kind of looking back at your website now. I remember seeing that before, where you have these sort of packages that people can buy, and that gives them sort of minor access to you and your team, but they get a lot of value and a lot of upstart type of resources and tools. And then if they want to go further and they need even more help, then they can get in touch with your team more customized. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, so we'll still do that flagship product
Hmm.
where basically we're all in, we're your co-founder, you're going to make a contribution up front, you're going to give us a piece of the company, and you're going to be
Hmm.
working with me directly and our team, and we're going to go from wherever you are to wherever you want to go. So we still do that, but we're a lot more selective right now on who we would take for something like that.
Yeah.
But one of my learning experiences as I was growing this business is we're not all cut out to be entrepreneurs, and even people that have good ideas and say they have the commitment, when it gets time to hand them over the keys to the Formula One car we built, they crash into the first wall. And so we're really, really careful who we pick. The idea really is secondary to the person.
I was just about to, that was my next question is when you're looking at companies, how do you be selective? And I would assume like you're looking at the person first because they're
Yeah,
the one driving that race car.
yeah, yeah. Before, with somebody with a pulse, a good idea, and a wallet, because they had
Yeah.
a financial contribution to us as well.
Yeah.
But even at the amount of money we were getting up front, really not enough other than to maybe have a small margin. We're betting on the upside of having a piece of ownership in the
Hmm.
company developed, and some just are never going to get anywhere. Um, those are the ones that are going to end up pointing to, oh, I launched and 6 months later and I'm not a gazillionaire. What's going on? And so now,
They'll fizzle out. Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
person becomes my first choice.
Yeah. So when you're looking out in the market and you have these companies coming through your filters, what are you looking for in a company? So let's say you've identified the individuals are good in the company itself. What are some of the key indicators that you're like, hey, this can be a win?
What I look for is what historically I did for myself. I had
Okay.
10 different companies. I think I had about an 80% success rate with the companies, including taking two of them public. And what I looked for is an emerging marketplace that was growing rapidly, that had competition, that had fervent customers, and had a gaping hole in it. The competition was not doing something right. They were
Mhm.
leaving a very important piece of the equation on the table. And I'd
Okay.
go snap up those pieces, and then we'd become the preeminent player in that space. And in using that approach, it's turned out to be very successful. And so when people come in and they have an idea, they want to go into a sector, one of the very first things that I do is like, is there an opportunity here to take advantage of a hole in this marketplace? And if there is, I get excited about it. If you look at my resume, you'll think, oh man, this guy's schizophrenic. It's just like everywhere:
Yeah.
restaurants, food, beauty,
Yeah.
clothing, software, hardware, e-commerce, finance, really all over the place. But every one of those is opportunistic.
Yeah.
Here's a really good opportunity in a growing market sector.
Yeah, gotcha. And that makes total sense. So you're looking at the person first. Can this person drive this race car? Yes. Are they in a market that the wind's kind of at their back and there's already a demand for what's going on and probably looking for product market fit?
Exactly.
And then you're looking for the gap that you can fill. Can you give me an example of a company that maybe you've worked with in the past, or maybe one of your companies that kind of fits this bill?
Yeah, I can give you a couple of examples. I'll use I'll use my own companies that I had started before. One is I think a great example because they're now doing about 800 million a year in revenue. We have employees on every habitable continent, and we have solutions that impact over half of the television households around the world. Um,
Nice.
that company, we started that when HD first started becoming popular. So this is an opportunistic change in the environment where I look for this big idea. What's a shift?
Hmm.
Uh, Airbnb, I can use that example later. That was a shift moment.
Yeah.
But
Right.
for us, the shift moment is the world was changing to HD, and the cable industry was screwed because the cable that went to your house could only hold 1 megabit of
Hmm.
data, and for HD back then you needed 1.5. So there's no way that they could bring HD to the home without forklifting their entire system. And if you know cable, it's all hardwired.
Yeah.
And so they had no solution, and it was panic mode for them. We approached them, me and two engineers from Israel, and said, we think we have a solution that can get you HD in a household. And basically, we said, hey, if you can build that, you got a $20 million order to start out with. And
Nice.
uh, and we left the meeting, and my engineers said, you're effing crazy, man. How are we going to be able to do this? 6 months later, we came up with a solution that literally quadrupled their throughput. So not only were we able to deliver HD, we were able to deliver two HD and one SD in one cable. And because that opportunity presented itself, and because the demand for that solution was so high, uh,
Hmm.
as I said, $20 million in the very first year
Yeah.
from zero. Um, so
Yeah, that's
that's
amazing. So you're applying that framework of looking for a market that has demand and just trying to find the need that's there and fill it. And filling it is not the easy. That's not the easy part. I think probably the easier part, which is still not easy, is at determining it. Where's the gap?
yeah.
So then, like, how do you go about finding a solution when you find a problem?
Yeah, and you're right. It sounds like, finding that hole or the gap in the marketplace is easy, and it could be, but filling it is another matter. My engineers thought it was impossible for us to fill that gap, even though it was clear to us what it was. Um, you know, it, things are only impossible until you do them, and
Yes, black swan.
and that's been the mantra that I've had in my whole career. There are ways to do things, and it may not articulate itself articulate itself the way that we first imagine. But if you know that there's a problem, there's always some solution to it. It might be inartful to begin with, but there is a solution to be had there. Um,
Hmm.
as you said, it's not easy and it's not for the faint of heart. But if you can pull it off, you have a much better chance of succeeding because the demand is already there. The customers are already there.
Yes, yes.
The
You're not
competition
trying to
is good, right?
yeah, you're not trying to break into something new and educate your customers.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. They're educating me, and nowadays, ladies and gentlemen, it's really easy. If you're in a sector, go look at your competitors, look at their one-star reviews, look for a pattern. In fact, with our AI tools, right now, I can say, hey, I want to be in this sector. These are the three main competitors.
mhm.
Go figure out how to kick their asses. And it's a series of questions, but the
Yeah,
ultimate
sure,
bottom line,
sure, sure.
figure out how to kick their asses,
Yeah,
and you'll get a pretty succinct way of going in there and slaying dragons. So there's no
yeah,
excuse anymore.
yeah. It's that's I will say that's a very clear path that you've painted, right? It makes sense, but it's a very unique way of thinking. I don't think everyone thinks like that. I don't think everyone thinks, well, we just have to do this thing, so we're going to go do it, right? So,
Yeah.
how did is that just part of your DNA? I mean, I know when you said you were in your 20, no one would have you, so you started, a business. Is that just something that you've always thought this way, or did you acquire that over time?
Um, I always thought that way, but I didn't know I did. It's only
Yeah,
by
that's okay.
looking,
That makes sense.
yeah, by looking backward, I said, well, how did I do this? Oh, I see. And then through discovery of history, I was
Yeah,
able to determine the patterns that I used to make the different companies successful.
patterns.
Oh,
That's what I.
With IdeaPros, we're still struggling to find that. I found the big gaping hole,
Uh
but it
huh.
was like drinking through a fire hose. There's just no way to do all
Hmm.
that heavy lifting. So here's a perfect example of this inartful solution in the beginning. Like we got it, we made $27 million
Hmm.
in a couple of years filling this hole, but we were drowning at the same time, just
Yeah.
drowning with overhead, with the cost of all the heavy lifting involved in going from an idea to a company and doing that 400 times and having 99,000 other people wanting you to do it for them. So I had to step back like nine
Hmm.
months ago and say, all right, no more new business until we refigure this and come up with a better approach.
That's a good problem to have, and I think you approached it the right way. Open the floodgates. It's what I would say I'm pulling from this is you're a feedback guy. Like looking at one-star reviews, you open the floodgates on Idea Pros and you get all these new applicants. That gives you feedback, so
Yeah,
you can adjust your plan.
yeah, you can. It's been a painful process to figure out exactly what to do. And when you decide as an organization to not take new business for a while you figure things out, that means that, just like with my girls, it's coming out of daddy's wallet
Hmm.
for a year. So, you have to double down and recommit to
Yeah.
something that you started, you were making good money on, and now all of a sudden you dry up that well and throw your own money back into it to do it in a better way.
Yeah. Yeah. This idea of like finding patterns, I think, is the key point in all of that thinking. Because to know how to use AI at this stage to give you the result that you're looking for, let's go kick butt. Well, all these questions are, that's your result. You're only going to know to ask it those questions, because you've already seen all these other patterns. Like, how
Yeah,
to use this tool because you've done all the work before.
yeah, yeah. It's just, it's like an X-ray and a radiologist, right?
Yes.
When I look at AI, in fact, we use the the term HI over AI, so human intelligence over artificial intelligence, and it will give you things, but I'm yet to see something I didn't have to edit to amend to say,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
you almost have it. Let's go here, try this approach, or that's not going to work. We can't create three-legged camels. Let's create
Yeah.
something else.
So I mean that all that stuff really resonates with me because it's similar to how I think, and I think similarly, I didn't realize that I thought that way until you can look back 2020.
Yeah,
So I think that's cool. If we turn the corner here a little bit and talk more about the nuts and bolts of business and how you're actually helping these companies, one of the things we talked about when we were introduced was raising capital, right?
yeah,
When should companies raise capital and when should they not, right? Just thinking about different stages too.
yeah. They should always raise capital.
Okay.
In today's market. There's two reasons why I say that, and I'm being a tiny bit facetious, but not by much.
Mm-hmm.
You're Unless you have it perfectly, you're either growing too fast or too slow. If you're going too slow, you need outside capital to help pay for advertising, to pay for the different support systems that you're putting in
Yeah.
place. Bring in more salespeople, for example. Uh, if you're growing too fast, then you're counting on last month's revenue to pay for this month's bills. But if you're doubling every single month, you have too much month for your money. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
because you're using old money to pay for this next round of money. So you can only grow at a certain level. And
Right.
especially in today's environment when the opportunities for rapid growth are staggering if you do it the right way, you always need to be thinking about capital infusions.
And what mechanisms do you find yourself sending your entrepreneurs to for raising capital?
Actually, I bring them. I don't send them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. You're,
I, there's a lot of facilitators out there that can make connections for you, but
mhm.
I like to look at my strategic side of things as kind of a reimagination of what you are doing as a business. And the reason is what you might be doing is really lucrative and growing really quickly, and you think you got something amazing, but it doesn't necessarily translate into something investors really understand and get hot about. So
Mhm.
when I first worked with any company, even companies like one company I'm working with has $90 million worth of backlog in orders, and they sent me a pitch deck that was about 80 pages long, and we turned it to 12 pages. And and all of a sudden, some really big investors are looking hard at them when they've been out for a year and not able to raise capital.
Yeah.
So I just call it reimagination. You take all the pieces, you lay it
Yeah.
out on a table, and you reassemble them in a very powerful, succinct way so
Mhm.
that people who are hearing your story for the first time and have the wallets, it's not that they're dumb, it's just they've
Mhm.
never heard your story. They don't know what you're about, and you want to
Yeah.
add all these elements, components, and features, functionality, and they just really want to understand two sentences. So this is what we do, and this is how we do it. And,
Mhm.
and if you have a company, you can get what those two things in two sentences. Then we can start building a really great, powerful deck for you. And so, if somebody retains me, it's strategy. It's all strategy first. Even if you think you have it right, we're gonna question everything you're doing and
Mhm.
everything you're planning on doing, and make sure it's really, really solid. And then we get you out, bring you up Silicon Valley and elsewhere to talk to venture capital, angel groups, and if you're far enough along, um, private equity and certainly family offices.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. What comes to mind is I had a guest on actually a couple weeks ago, and a business growth strategist, and he was talking about the same idea. He was saying, it's like we're going to sell your house. You have to restage your house. You got to take the emotion out of it, take your ideas out of it, and put it how an investor would want to see it. So I think that's a really good way, a way of saying it is reimagining it in the eyes of the investor, whether you're talking to a family office or, PE. Actually, that's one of the other things I was going to talk to you about is private equity. Um, where does a private equity fit into this scenario if they do at all? And then what's kind of the disadvantages, advantages of working with private equity?
Well, a lot of private equity companies are just going to want to take you out.
Hmm.
But there's a subset of private equity companies that want to come in and take a minority position. The good news about working with private equity is that they are part of leading the catalyst to your exit. So if you get a private equity firm that comes in and wants to contribute $50 million to your cause and take a 30% position in it, their horizon to take over the whole company and to take it public or to grow it as a massive private organization is probably 3 to 5 years. And so you now have assistance in helping you grow. You have,
Hmm.
in many cases, an unlimited pocketbook to facilitate growth, acquisitions, strategic partnerships, new products and services. Those things all come
Yeah.
with the offering. The downside, of course, is now you got a couple of people sitting on your board that are yelling at you every day.
Sounds like you've had that experience.
Hell yeah, I have. I have.
Amazing. Well, I don't know a ton about private equity, but it seems like in just first a glance, it's what they're doing is different than what you're doing at Idea Pros for sure. But there's a lot of overlap, a lot of similarities. So how do you um, pull that apart for your entrepreneurs coming in, saying, "Oh, here's the value we're bringing. Here's the value potentially that another investor might be bringing."
Yeah, almost without exception, the people that are working with us, they're really not ready for private equity yet.
Yeah.
So we're kind of a combination of a VC, an accelerator, an incubator, and private equity all rolled into
Oh,
one.
yeah.
And by the way, a services organization because we build whatever you want built from apps to engineering to
Yeah.
working with manufacturing to your naming, branding, positioning, strategies, uh, all those elements. It's kind of a one-stop shop, even though
Yeah.
I hate that term.
Yeah. That's amazing. Um, well, so on my list here, I wanted to talk to you about. I don't want to forget to talk to you about um, translating leadership skills. We're talking about leadership skills in different parts of your organization because I know we talked about, your manager or your founder, your entrepreneur you're bringing in. They're the key to all of this, working or not working, driving that race car. Um, how do you, when you bring them in, how do you set them on the right course so that they are growing themselves personally inside the company?
The very first thing I do when I speak to any company at any stage, it could be an individual, it could be a company like this one I was just talking about that has probably 100 employees. Uh, I talk about purpose and trying to find an alignment between what goes on in your core and what you're
Hmm.
projecting out into your business. And if we can get that alignment, then we're in a position where you can become a much better leader or a leader at all. Because when you first start as an entrepreneur, you're the worst leader in the world because you don't have anybody you can rely on. You're doing everything. Like as my dad used to say, one arm paper hanger,
Yeah.
which seems to be kind of a weird term to use
Yeah,
anymore.
it's super weird, but it somehow makes sense.
It does. And and so to transition from that to what Richard Branson says about when he was asked about being successful with his Virgin line of companies, it was like come up with good ideas, surround yourself with a really solid team, and get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
And so that transition to leadership is enabling others to do your work with the trust and understanding that they can do the same job you can, maybe even better because their skill set is unique to the element of what they're doing. They're never going to have the same passion that you have for it because this is your baby. But if you surround yourself with really competent people, you're going to grow a beautiful baby.
Yeah, I like that. Alignment of their core sort of intrinsic values and the purpose of the company is critical because it really kind of makes things a lot easier for them too, because they
Yeah,
can just be themselves, assuming that that is in alignment with what the company needs to be.
exactly. Yeah. And by the way, there are some really big companies right now, Apple, Google. They're a lot more interested in the culture fit than they are in the resume and
Hmm.
where you went to school, what job
Hmm.
you had. Obviously, those things matter,
Sure.
but the key, the critical element is how do they fit in our culture? Do they
Hmm.
have a belief system that we have? Are they going to react in the same way to positive and negative stimuli as we're expecting in this company? And if you don't have that fit, it doesn't matter what somebody's resume is. They're not going to they're going to be poison in the company. And so
Yeah, agreed.
companies are looking. In fact, we're developing an app right now that addresses that allows you to build your persona out on a more personalized level, so that when you
Hmm.
do give a resume, you can give your persona as well and say, "This is what I'm all about. This is what my coworkers and friends think of me, and my skills, my belief system, and everything." And that becomes part of what you offer up to companies when you're looking for.
I like that. Yeah. Do you, are you utilizing any behavior or personality tests like Myers Briggs or DISC or anything like that?
Yeah, we're using a combination of things that when you go and you set up your persona,
Yeah.
you answer a series of questions, and it helps
Yeah.
position you to because it works both ways, right? You don't want to go into an organization where you don't fit in the culture. It's not only bad
No.
for the organization; it's bad for you
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, and I really believe in those things. I think that it's like the Matrix. It sort of opens people's eyes to what's really in front of them,
Yeah,
and it clears the things up in terms of if people really harness the power,
yeah,
especially DISC. I think seeing how people behave and you're able to read someone's behavior and interact accordingly,
yeah,
it's super helpful.
yeah,
And that kind of gets us to the personal growth point. I know on our previous call we were talking about kind of working on the business of you first. This seemed like it was very important to you, and especially at this stage of your life and your business and the things that you're doing. Talk to
yeah.
me about like how do you work on personal growth? How do you translate that to the founders and entrepreneurs that are coming in and that you're investing in?
Yeah. You have 3 kids.
I do.
I have 402. I have two girls,
Yeah,
2 girls and 400 companies that are
yeah,
just starting out, right? So I've never had this much stress in my life, and
yeah.
uh, and so the only way to be able to handle that, and by the way, you don't have to have 400 companies that have stress. You have one
No,
and have buku stress.
plenty. Yeah.
So the best way to handle it is, I say, when you wake up, work on the business of you before working on the business of your business.
Mm.
And what I mean by that, find enough time. Get up an hour early or 2 hours early if you have to. I'm up at 5 every day. A workout for an hour and a half with a trainer 5 days a
Mm.
week. Because if I don't have the trainer, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Uh, I hate working out. If somebody out there is working on a workout pill, let me know. I'll be a guinea pig. I hate
I'm
it.
right there with you.
But I'm working out 90 minutes a day, and people in their 20s can't keep up with me, and they try to do my 70 something workout.
Yeah.
And so I work on me. I do positive affirmations. I kind of reflect and meditate. I'll read a chapter or a paragraph or a whole entire book, and I'll do those things and really express gratitude so
Mm.
that when I put all that stuff down and start my workday, I'm going to be in a positive mood.
Mm.
I pumped up my mind with the
Mm.
meditation and with the affirmations and with reading, and I pumped up my body with exercise. So now I'm going into the beginning of the day in a really positive mode, whereas I may have slept 3 hours the night before because I'm so worried about different aspects of the business. So
Mm.
working on you is critically important. In fact, on my Instagram page, official Fred Cary, Cary, I have over 500,000 followers on there now, and I have pinned my workout routine is the very first thing on it. And if you click it, if you do that every day, you're going to see your attitude is a
Mm.
lot different throughout the day.
Yeah, I would agree 100% with that. You get your body moving right. It affects your mind.
Yep.
It's wild how it works.
Yeah. Feed the beast.
Yes. Hey, this has been an amazing conversation. I so much appreciate you coming on here. Thanks for all your practical wisdom.
Well, I appreciate that as well. Have a great weekend. I'll be working all weekend.
Well, don't work too hard.
No, I won't.
Thanks again. And if we want to send people your way, you said it's official Cary at on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram's official Fred Cary, Cary. The website is IdeaPros.com.
Mhm.
There's free membership on there. There's applications to talk to us. If you have something that you think is really important that you can be the next unicorn, write to me, Fred at IdeaPros.com. I'll be happy to speak with you, spend a half hour with you, and if I can help you, I will. If I can't, I'll direct you to where you should be going.
It's awesome. Thanks again, Fred.
Take care.